Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our third roundtable of the day. As you know, we're having a full day with roundtables throughout the day. This one is lockdown parenting, how to manage it. And my name is Mateus. Let me introduce myself first. I'm sorry, my name is Mateus. I am a master's degree student at the University, Federal University of Berlândia. And today we have the pleasure of listening to Sandra Vicente from Canada, Rogério Angelo from Brazil, and Marcelo. I'm sorry, Marcelo, you're going to have to correct me, but
Okay.
Saccarini? I'm sorry.
You're correct.
I
Well
got
done.
it?
You
Awesome.
did well.
Marcelo Buscarini from Australia. So, thank you all so much for watching this roundtable. I hope that we can make the best out of it. So, to start off, I would like for each of you to introduce yourselves. You can tell us your name, where you're from. Well, I already told the audience, but you can all if you could also talk about how many children you have, what are their names, and then we can go on from that. Okay. So, Sandra, can you go first?
Yes, my name is Sandra Vicente. I live in Canada for 14 years now. I have two teenagers. Lara is 17 and Vinny is 19.
Rogério, and then Marcelo.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Rogério Angelo. I'm speaking from Berlândia, Brazil. I'm a teacher at IFTM, Federal Institute at the city of Ituiutaba, and I'm a doctorate student here at UFO, and I have two children. Gregorio is 2, almost 3, and Clarice is 5. Uh, Yeah, that's it. So a 5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son.
So good. So my name is Marcelo Saccarini. I live in Australia and I've been here for the last almost 14 years now, I think. And married, and my wife's supposed to be with me, but it's actually midnight, exactly midnight in Australia right now. And at 10 p.m., my wife turns to pumpkin. So it's unfortunately she cannot. She's actually went to bed already. But with I'm father of William. William just turned 2 years now. It's a very hyperactive kid, and it's been quite interesting as a parent to manage kids during the pandemic. But we'll probably go through in a little bit more. But that's me. Nice to meet you guys. And by the way, thanks for the invite. It's so good to be here with you guys.
Thank you all so much. We don't have to make this a very formal, round table. We can make it more of a conversation. So whenever you feel like asking each other any question, please jump in. Um, and we don't have to do something so like by the book. But to start off, I would like to listen from you because I mean, you're not only parents, right? Like Rogério is. I know that he's a teacher and he's also doing his PhD. I'm sure. I've heard that Marcelo works at a company. I'm not sure what you do, Sandra. Do you do?
I'm an electronic engineer.
So yeah, so you all have different occupations. You're also, parents. So that's like a huge challenge. So how has it been for all of you being, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, that first like very scary like first months that we didn't really know like what was going on? How was it for you back then being, doing the work that you have to do and managing, being a parent? So whoever would like to speak first, please go ahead.
Well, I'm always planning things in my mind. It's normal, my normal way of living, right? So I felt the need to try to anticipate some things that I think that we as a family should have a plan So I try to do some adaptations in the house. I try to anticipate some needs we would have. So I created some spaces in the house, new spaces. I had like 6 offices in the house. So um, I think trying to have a plan and talk and also have a commitment from the kids was very good for us and really helped to go through this, to navigate through this difficult time.
Yeah, look, I'll second that as well, Sandra. It's very well said. I think for us, it was a little bit different in a way that we also extremely planned and extremely organized for things, but it was a very new experience for us. I think my son was just only not even 6 months when the whole pandemic started. And in Australia, as you might imagine, we are closer to China, so the pandemic started here earlier than everyone else. So we start seeing things um, much earlier, like early, right, earlier. So in a way, was a little bit scary, and I was quite lucky in a way because we have. I work for a multinational company, and I do a lot of Asia. And just the beginning, we had start hearing of our staff and our friends from across Asia saying, "Hey, this is gonna be big. You guys should be ready." So we exactly what Sandra did. We started getting prepared, and we actually started our own lockdown earlier, knowing that was coming, in preparation for what was coming. So we did exactly what Sandra mentioned. We started doing preparing in the house, preparing ourselves mentally as well. But I can tell you that was, I think, it was the biggest hard for us, and we're probably going to talk about more and how hard it was mentally for everyone as a parent to be during the pandemic. And I think even that we prepared everything we could. I think even though we done everything on our hands, we still were not ready when the pandemic hit us, right? So that was the big thing. Now, just a second side of the story, I think it had some great things for us as well. And but I think I mentioned that as well later. But it was we've seen a few positive sides in the pandemic as it came along. But we probably can talk about this later. Rogério, do you want to go next?
Sure. Uh, Sandra was talking about planning everything, but here, at least for me, it didn't work very well because all the plans were like trying to adapt the house and adapt the times. I was very lucky. In fact, I was doing my master's when the pandemic hit, and I used to live in Ituiutaba, but I would uh, do the disciplines in Uberlândia, so I would travel, but I got a study leave from my work, so I was not teaching at the time. So when everything started, and I thought that could help me out. I mean, not having to deal with teaching and kids and the masters, but eventually having the kids 24/7, and trying to research and cook, and then my wife's also a teacher. And then everything we tried, like, it's day by day. We could not make plans for like a week, or we cannot still make long-term plans. But it was very hard, uh, especially concentrating. I mean, doing research and reading and all. I could only study when the kids. I think the same for you guys, right? Like, I'm here, but there's one kid in this bedroom, and the other kid is in the living room, and my wife's out. So at any moment, I could. I mean, it's necessary to stop everything and like help somebody out. But at the same time, when Marcelo mentions the positive sides, I think during the pandemic is the time I had more time with my wife and with my kids, and this sometimes is very good, and sometimes it's very bad too, because we kind of we get frustrated, we cannot work sometimes, or we don't have space. And it's very important too. It has always been very important having uh, my brother or my sister or my mother-in-law who would help us out. And during this pandemic, in the beginning, my sister used to live with us, but then we had to move to Uberlândia to help my mother-in-law out. She was doing some medical treatment, and we had to go to a very tiny apartment, 45 square meters apartment, and things got more condensed, and the kids didn't have a playground, or they didn't have other kids to play. And kids, they want to play, and they want to my kids, they love reading or playing cards or jumping, and the parks are still to this day in the apartment where I was living until very recently. Everything's closed. Kids cannot have contact with other kids. So this is when Sandra mentioned planning. We try to elaborate different activities, but it's necessary to have space, and also having a support group, which for some time I didn't have, and now sometimes my brother comes or my sister comes. Dealing with kids alone, I don't know for you guys, but dealing with kids, only the parents and the kids, is something Herculean, I would say, very difficult. How is it for you guys? I'm curious. And is it working, your plan, Sandra?
So when I say plan, um, I should maybe rephrase to um, making choices or
Anticipate,
anticipating things, because,
anticipate a challenge.
for
Yeah.
example, one thing that we did, and the government here in Canada, they really stimulated that, is to expand our bubble. For example, we are a family of 4, and so I invited a cousin who lives here 40 minutes from me, and it's single, and he's very funny. He's very nice guy. So I invited him to live here with us. I had the space. I said, why not? You come. We are gonna expand our bubble, and we'll have more fun together. And so I also invited a nephew from Brazil to come here to study English, to benefit of that too. So, and then few changes in the house also helped a lot for us. We had the opportunity. We had to stream a lot from our house because of my husband's work. So the kids got involved too in the studio. And so they learned how to edit. They learned how to operate cameras and a lot of things. So in this sense, I say finding new purposes, try to redefine the routine of the house, and finding new ways to, and creative ways to live, and trying to be positive too, right? I'm not talking about a toxic positivity that, oh, everything is going to be nice. No, it's just trying to get some advantage of, like, not commuting, having more time to sleep, talking, get informed. And then we would plan the week. We would plan what we would do as physical activities. Also, we had to do gym in the house. So these kind of plans that on how we're going to live in this situation. And I think they felt more confident with us defining the way we should be living the next days, and always keep an eye on the news, right?
For sure. For sure. Thank you, Sandra. We have just had a sneak peek of Rogério's son on the screen. So it feels like we have been going on a like never-ending roller coaster ride. But I feel like holding on to like small things keeps us sane. And I would just like to continue with this discussion to hear Marcel about what he has to say about like his plans, and how your children, how, like, what have you planned more specifically? Let me explain my question better, because thinking of what you said, Sandra, um, when we're not in a pandemic, we do have the help of other people, other family members, our friends. We have play dates. We have like our, parents, taking care of their grandchildren, and you have the school, and they are, they're in different environments, and especially for young kids like Rogério and Marcelo, you probably know that it's important for them to be with other children as well. That's very important for their personal development, right? And now they're like all the time with the parents, and that's very challenging. So Marcelo, what have you like planned when it comes to raising your child, and have you had to change any of these plans along the way?
Yeah, look, I think a few things as I was getting invited to this call today, I was telling Carla, Professor Carla, that I wasn't feeling that was the best person to be in this call, because for many reasons. And the first of all, it was because I did feel that was like we still going through the massive challenge. It's still trying to overcome the problems. We are in full lockdown in Australia. We are 9 weeks into lockdown, and we still have another 4 weeks of lockdown happening. I literally just had my vaccination done today for the first. It's starting to get vaccinated in Australia, so we are still suffering through the major challenge. However, we through the process we were quite lucky, because I'm by chance, or whatever you can call this, but we managed to fly my mother just before the lockdown, and she was supposed to be here for a year. So she's been with us for we've been renewing her visa. So she's been with us for the last 2 years with us here. So it's been helping. It's been instrumental help for us, as you guys pointed before, like raising the kids, being part of the whole process. And even though with the pandemic, the government allowed us to let. So, for example, they call the compassionate allowance, or that we can take our kids for someone to take care of, for example. So even that my mother's here, it's really hard for her to be full time there. We full time work. So my mother-in-law lives half an hour from where we live. So we've been able to from time to time take my son there, and even that if actually through the lockdown we could not take many times there, but I think last few weeks we were able to take my son to stay with my mother-in-law, to spend some time play with different people, because that's extremely important. I think Rogério mentioned before, they want to play, they want to do something different, they want to see other kids, they want to unfortunately not be able to see other kids here in Australia at least. So we're trying to figure out different ways between extended bubble, as Sandra mentioned before. That's what we kind of managing that with us here. I know that some different countries do different ways, but for us, we try to adaptate ourselves, because everything we had planned was scrapped, like we was taking down the drain, right? And so the whole planning, it became like on a weekly base planning, on a monthly base planning, and it changed the planning, and being able to, okay, we cannot do this, we're gonna do that, right? But still trying to see positiveness as much as we can through the process has been it's been quite important for us, but it's not been easy. And I can tell you is it's been hard for us to maintain that level of happiness and positiveness across the board through everything that's going on, and seeing people passing away, people getting sick, right? Not being able to do anything to help. It's also part of the whole process of being parenting and not being able to help other people, because you're locked in. We cannot fly outside Australia. We are actually locked in Australia. No one can fly in Australia. So for us, it's literally feel that is we are powerless, and that for that sense, I think is consuming us more than it should. So figure out that how to overcome that for us is being quite significant challenge. And I'd love to hear from Sandra and Rogério how they're overcoming, because I know Brazil is a different scenario. They're opening up and they're being able to do more things, but I'd love to know what else guys being able to do to that scenario.
Maybe I'm thinking here, hearing you and Sandra, one thing is getting more and more clear to me. It's that we cannot do it alone on our own. Like it's impossible raising kids. And like earlier on, I was watching the other round table, and Juan mentioned something about we were living with this impression of uh, individuality, and I can do it on my own. I'm autonomous, and I think this pandemic has shown us that we need to work as a community. Like when Sandra mentioned this extended bubble, uh, I think it is hard enough, but I understand my privileges. I am working now from home, and my wife is going there. I can take her, and I can like sometimes work, and my kids are here. Uh, but it's not easy. Like if we don't have help from other family members, if we don't have contact with some friends. Now, very recently, like maybe 2 weeks ago, we started like we invited one friend who has a kid almost the same age as my son. She came here to our house and she stayed here on Saturday. And it was like my son was thrilled and he was like playing all day. And I think that we take, I mean, we take it for granted how good it is being with other people and the kids being with other kids. And the school is very important for now. I mean, I'm a teacher, I've been in schools for a long time, and but we tend to give more emphasis to the pedagogical and like learning new things, and but this socializing moments we have in school and being with people the same age or approximately the same age as we are, I think it's this is very important. And it has been for me, it's becoming more and more clear that we need social contact. And sometimes, but only sometimes, it's in the beginning of the pandemic, I would have some parties like through Zoom or Google Meet or whatever. But eventually, after one, two times, like we see each other, but it's not the same. We like to drink with someone close and then watching something together. Yes, love. Just a second.
Rogério,
Okay.
do you mind introducing us your children, since they're
Clarice, come here.
some live parenting going on?
Good morning, come here. Just a second. He's falling. Yeah, he doesn't want it. This is Gregor, but and this is Clarice. Say hello, Clarice.
They're beautiful. So Clarissa is 5 and Gregório is 2, you said,
She's
right?
5, right? And Gregor is
Hello,
almost
Clarissa.
turning 3
Hello, Gregório.
in December. Yes, yeah, but Gregor is a little angry with this situation. He's concentrated in this phone.
But he's used to cameras, right? Because how old was he when like the pandemic started?
No, he was not one yet when the pandemic. No, maybe one and something, but he was starting to walk. Uh, but he hadn't been to school yet, or to so he didn't have a lot of time, and he hasn't had uh, to this day time with like 10 kids his age. Maximum was like 2 kids because 2 cousins, and we were at my mother-in-law's house the other day and they were there. But that's it. He doesn't know other kids. Uh, it's like your son, right? Your son has lived most of his life in the pandemic,
Rogério,
isn't it?
do you know what's funny? We took him to a park. Like, so we can go to a park an hour a day. We can go to a park. And one of those days, I think it's being 6 months, he saw a dog. And for us, just like, it's a dog, right? And I figured out that moment, it's just like sinking in me. It just realized that he'd never seen a dog before. It was like, holy moly. And so I approached the person, so maintaining social distancing, and say, look, do you mind if my son gets closer to your dog? Because you've never seen a dog, right? And that for me, it was just scary moment. Like, do you know what? We don't have some privilege these days in some areas, that it's such simple things, as you mentioned, Roger. I think it's quite important, is being able to see each other. And we as Brazilians, some cultures that we do across Asia, for example, they don't really mind. They're okay to live by themselves most of the time. They have the close family, and that's it. They 5 people. That's how what they have. But as Brazilians, we love to be among multitude of people, right? I remember I was just seeing some photos, and I had a birthday party. We had like over 60 people in my place, right? And it's just like my son's birthday party over the weekend. Literally was myself, my mother, my wife, and all his friends on a projector screen saying happy birthday through a screen. And he was just like, he was okay for him, because that's the only thing he understands is people over the screens, right? So I think this is, for me, is, in a nutshell, is heartbreaking, because I grew up with multiple people, right? But the second thing I want to highlight, what you said, Matheus, before, is it's good to see the kids on the room and going through. And I think Carla mentioned on the chat window here, saying this is what home office really looks like in Brazil. And I'll say, Carla, this is really what home office looks across the globe, right? So multiple meetings we have, kids coming through the doors, dogs coming in. And before the pandemic, it was quite a big no. You need to have a quiet pace for yourself. Today, everyone understands, you know what? Things will happen. You can stop the meeting because kids is crying, and you need to have this kind of idea of working life balance. It becomes this massive thing that you're working, but you also take care of your kid. But then your kid go to sleep, you go back to work because you didn't manage to finish things. So that being able to have flexibility, it's quite important. And I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm seeing a lot of companies be more flexible to the employees. I'm not sure it's a reality for everyone, but I'd love to see the comments here in the chat window as well, if the guys are seeing that as well. But I've seen companies being more flexible with time, not being like the 9 to 5 anymore, but might be 9 to midnight. But in between, you can stop for 4 hours and have to take care of your kids. But I'm starting to see people more flexible, and it's helping a lot. So love to hear as well. I'm not sure if you guys think, is that true? Is that happening for you, Sandra, as well, as an electric engineer?
Yes, I have flexibility, but I was already in the home office before pandemic, so I didn't have to adapt much because it was already my reality. And one thing that I would like to say, that I lost 5 family members during pandemic in Brazil, and it was really difficult for us to deal with that, with the distance. And with my kids here during pandemic, I remember 2 specific dates for them that were very important. My daughter turned 16. So we have here in Canada a Sweet 16 party that should be a big thing. So at that time, government was allowing us to have like 5 people in the house, in outdoors, right, in the backyard. So we had that party with 5. And also my son was graduating from high school, transitioning to university. He didn't had a graduation party. So at that time we were allowed to have 10 in the backyard. So we did that too. And so we try to celebrate or to have friends whenever possible, according to the rules of the government, of course. And meeting people outside during walkings, and we were doing whatever we could to meet people. That social contact that Marcelo mentioned was key for us. And whenever possible, we were doing according to the government rules, but we were doing. It was tough. It's been now 3 months without lockdown that we can meet people, we can have people coming home. I will have a party next Sunday, and we are doing, because we never know. Maybe in 1 month we'll be locked down again. We have to take advantage.
Sandra, well, first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss. I cannot put in words how you and your family must have felt, and everyone who has lost their loved ones. And where are you in Canada? I didn't ask this question before.
So I'm in the East Coast, 40 minutes from Toronto.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. Just curious, because next year I'll be going to Canada to do part of my master's research, but I'm gonna be at UBC in Vancouver. So I was just curious to know.
Oh,
We see Rogério a little bit jealous there, like.
But he's next. He's next. He's next. He's next in line.
Okay.
But it's very interesting to hear all of you, because I believe as parents, you know, you have your children, you project these like big life events that you expect to plan, and you expect your children to have like graduation party or their first year old birthday party, or their 16 sweet 16 birthday party. And that's like once in a lifetime thing. They're not going to be one again. They're not going to be 16 again, graduate again from high school. So on that note, but maybe especially for Rogério and Marcelo, because they have younger children. But Sandra, please join us. How do you see yourselves telling to your children in like 5-10 years what has been going on in the past year and a half? So whoever would like to go first. So I'll start with Sandra. So Sandra, I know your children are 16 and 17, right? So they're aware, but how do you feel like what they're missing out from their teenage years, because we are in lockdown, and I know in Canada now things are less restricted, but we never know what might happen next, right?
yeah, I think they are fully aware of what's happening. They are trying to also to be conscious that we are here. It's not the worst case because, of course, we have space. They can go out, so it's not that bad as it is in some countries. So of course they are missing events like graduation will not happen ever again, but wow. That's it. Everybody's living the same limitations. They are not the only ones, so they have to live with that, right? So
Rogério, do you want to go next on that one?
I was when Sandra mentioned this, like the end of high school and sweet 16th birthday of her daughter. I was thinking here how important it is these moments, these rituals, and having this. I mean, going through this, especially as they're older, they like anticipated it. So they went to different high school, I don't know, celebrations, or they saw other people turning 16 and went to birthdays. I think we have, like me and Marcelo, we have younger kids. So like my daughter had she had 3 birthdays before the pandemic, and then one birthday in the pandemic already. And it was weird for her, but my other son, he didn't he didn't know exactly what to expect, so he didn't miss it that much. It was not as hard for him. I'm going next, in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to hold my second birthday without friends or much of my family. Maybe around like 5 or 6 people are coming over, but that's it. And for me, I like having people over and being with family and friends and partying. And every year, like the birthday for each of us, some people don't like very much, but I personally like very much, and like Christmas and these. But when we think about like the New Year's, or there are some dates, special dates, and some uh, some moments in life that they're not coming back. And when Mateus mentions, oh, in 10 years' time or in 15 years' time, how is it? First, I hope it will be over in 10 years' time, really, because
That makes two of us, my friend, two of us. I just wish that's gonna be over, but yeah.
that's it. Like, really, it afflicts me. I mean, uh, I'm afraid things we are going to go through other pandemics or other moments, because the way we are living, like we're treating the planet, the way things are going, I don't know. It could, of course, I think it's not going to be this one, but I hope we don't have another pandemic like this in 10, 15, 50 years' time. But uh, we have to hold on to, like, everybody thought it would be something like, oh, 15 days or 1 month, and that's it. We go back to our lives. But no, it's been like almost 2 years, and it's difficult. But coming back to the other question, like Marcelo asked, oh, how about work? The companies, they're more flexible. Of course, I have been working from home. We still have the online classes. We're transitioning still here in Brazil to the hybrid classes, or but the impression I have is society, and I mean, a lot of people think teachers haven't been working, and I mean, some professions, people who do home office. I had hopes people would understand that home office is work, but for the Brazilian society, I don't know if people in the chat have a different opinion, or if you maybe, but you are in different countries. But the impression I have from Brazilian people, and my some people in my family, they think I haven't been working. I have just been playing with my kids all day long, and that's it. And sometimes I go online with my students, and I don't have to plan class. I don't have to study. That's the impression I have. But well, in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, I hope we will have had the time to process it all, because we are going through it. So I think we are going to see the good sides of it, and we will try to uh, forget a little bit of how hard it was going through this. Because, like Sandra, and I'm sorry for your losses. I lost people in my family too, and people get sick, and some people live as if everything was normal, and it's sad having people in your family or friends who like go out and don't. Anyways, it's complicated, but I think in the future we will look back saying it was a very difficult moment. It was odd and weird starting to uh, transitioning to home office and having kids all around all the time, not being able to see other people. But I normally, looking back at my life and thinking about other times in history too, we tend to minimize this very difficult situation and try to look on the bright side, because if we don't, uh, we give up. We stop. Why raising kids? Why having children? Why living if we don't think the future will be better, and if we don't think it makes sense? I don't know what you think about it, Sandra, Marcelo, but that's what I think.
Yeah, look, I think I second everything you guys said before. Um, but I think from my side, it's we live in Australia. We have a huge Brazilian community in Australia, and we have similar. I think similar to Canada. I think we have big Brazilian community in Canada, right, Sandra? I think it's a lot of Brazilians there as well.
Yeah, we have, but it's not so big. But
Yeah.
we have.
So close to us, close to our family friends, we have 16 couples that are having kids. That it's on a first or second baby, very young family. And I think the key thing we keep discussing, keep chatting, keep talking is, and that was our major concern for William. On top of everything I said, it was the behavior side of the conversation, how we'll be reacting among people, right? And that is something that is still a challenge for us. We have not sorted that yet. And as we understand, it takes normally 6 months to like. And by the way, I'm a Hmong professor, so please forgive me if you have a different research on this. But some studies say that it takes 6 months to change a culture and 200 plus days to change a habit, right? So we're already way over of the changing habit kind of scenario. So what we're seeing from my son and some of the kids the same age is how they interact among themselves is quite funny, because they don't know how to engage between themselves, how to play, how to they do interact with us a lot, and that's everything that you do, right, of the grandparents. But between themselves is quite funny, right? And a very good friend of ours lives, I don't know, 2 kilometers from my house, 8 minutes driving from here. And when the pandemics, like when the regulations are relaxed and we are able to see each other, we can see like, I don't know, 5-10 people among. We try to go there and check them out, go to a park and play, put our kids to play. That thing of having the kids being not knowing what to do with each other, they don't know how to hug. They don't know. They just like, should I hug? Should I kiss? Should I shake hands? They don't understand. And that for me is I think the biggest loss that we have between our Brazilian community, because we are very lovable persons. We love interaction. We love people contacting. We love hugging. We love kisses in the face. We love, right? So for me, that was the biggest loss I'm seeing, that I don't know how to explain to my son how he was before, right? Because now everyone's doing fist bumps or doing like all sorts of different shake hands. That's not even shake hands, like elbow shaking, whatever they're doing. And that for me is the biggest loss that we have, because that's how we communicate, is being very close to each other. Everything else, I have to agree with everyone saying, and even Chad has seen some comments there, but that is the thing that I don't know how to do with. And I give an example, just final one from my side on that front is we are afraid of putting my son on childcare because of all the transmissions that are going on. We actually put him on childcare 2 days a week, so he could see kids, like we could have some interaction with kids and could play with kids, right? And that was extremely hard for him, because he didn't know what to do. Like first few, like for, I don't know, over 2 months that we were allowed to take him to childcare, every day was a struggle for him. And that was a thing that I still don't know how we're going to explain to him in the future, how would that look like in the future. But that's, from Mateus, for me, that is the biggest thing I was still trying to figure out, that I have not sorted yet.
I don't know if you guys remember the cartoon Backyardigans, but what I saw happening here with my neighbors was that kids are playing to try to keep contact. The small kids, they play. They have fences, right, between the houses. So, but they play, and over the fence they stay. They have like a playground, and they stay over the fence, and they talk. They interact all the time to keep this contact. Remembers me a lot this cartoon, The Backyardigans. They're trying to find creative ways to communicate.
That's very interesting, because especially when you think I'm 26, and I bet when you see your children, you might stop for a second and think about like how you grew up. And I guess before that, technology didn't play a role as it played today, and now we are in the pandemic, so we are like surrounded by screens. So in the past would be, you run down the street, we'd go to the park, play with our neighbors, and that has changed throughout the years. And now we're not really sure how the pandemic, being growing up inside the house, between four walls, sometimes how is that going to play out in the children's future. But I'm very curious to know, we still have a couple of minutes until we wrap up this roundtable. And I'm very curious to know if you noticed, and if you did, have you noticed if your relationship with your children has changed since, pandemic started, lockdown started, And if so, how did it change?
If I'll jump on this one, because that's a very important one, because I don't have the experience to be a father before the pandemic, literally, right? But I have experience of my father, how my parents treated me before the pandemic, right? And one thing that was extremely important for me growing up was like, look, my parents work a lot of time. So my father used to work 100 hours a week, and I used to see my father just like over the weekends from Friday to Saturday, and for me, going back to the beginning of conversations that I mentioned before, we saw some great differences with the pandemic for us in a positive way. So I'm a little bit as well, a little bit, no, actually, I'm extremely alcoholic, as I think most of people are these days. But I in my line of work, I do travel a lot. I always do travel a lot. So between one a week or 2 weeks a month, I'll be outside Australia, across Asia, or somewhere in America, for work. So and as we're preparing to have kids, that was my concern: how I'll maintain my work and traveling that much, right? And the experience that I had was throughout the pregnancy. My wife had a very tough pregnancy. We had a few challenges throughout pregnancy, and I managed to convince a work company to work from home. So I started working from home a year before the pandemic started. So in that sense, that I got prepared to the pandemic beforehand, but I prepared myself to be a different father than my father was. Not complaining about it, because I am today everything I am because of him, and because of the way my parents raised me. But for me, to answer your question, Mateus, was being able to be a father that was present. Literally, I saw my son crawling the first time. I saw my son walking. I saw my son saying the few first words. I was literally seeing, literally, I was with my door open when he gave the first steps into my room. So that for me, I feel a better father than I could ever imagine that would be before the pandemic. And I had all the challenges in my mind. I was like, do you know what? I'll be a terrible father because I'm not going to be able to be present. But now I am here. Even though I am working from home, and I'm working a lot of most of the time until 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes, because the regions to take care of. But I'm here, and I stop my work and go check on him throughout the day, and that for me makes tons of difference. And I hope that answers the question, Mateus, because it's a very very hot topic for me, and I'm very passionate about this topic because it makes tons of difference how I'm father now because of the pandemic.
You
And I
sure
think
did. You should, because like you compare like what you thought of parenting was, because that, what you experienced with your parents, and how you would like that to be different. And although pandemic is horrible, and again, I don't mean to romanticize any of that, it provided you specifically this opportunity to be at home and with your child, right?
Yeah.
So what about you two, Sandra and Rogério?
I think we became closer. Not that we were not, but more participating more in each other's lives and planning. My son transitioned to university, so it was a whole new world for him, and had to deal with schedules, different choosing courses. So he asked us to be involved in that, to support him. At the same time, both of my kids, they participate more in the routine of the house. My son, he's always helping my husband, always helping me. My daughter as well, super involved in the maintenance of the house. So I feel we are close and more involved in what's going on in the house. They are now in an age that they can really do things. They can clean the house, they can do everything that we do. So they are completely involved in the routine. And this, I think, was a positive thing, because if they were going to school, probably they wouldn't have this time and availability.
Uh, just like, not just like, but similar to Marcelo, you would travel for work. I used to, when Clarice was younger, my older kid, when she was born, the year she was born was the year I was working 3 days a week. I was out all day long. I mean, yes, 3 days. I was out of town. I used to work uh, in two different schools, but in fact, in four different schools. But one school was 180 kilometers from here, the other 70 kilometers from Uberlândia. And the days I was in town, I would work morning, afternoon, and part of the evening. And I would work very much. So I didn't, the first year of her life, I was not present. I would see her some days a week for lunch. And when I would come back from work, she would be sleeping. And in the morning, when I woke up, she was still sleeping. And I, I didn't participate in her first year and the second. So I stopped working in one of these schools, and then eventually I moved to Ituiutaba, and I started working for only one school. But then I started my master's, and my master's was in another city. So 2 or 3 days a week again, I was traveling. So when the pandemic hit, and my son was just born, and I mean he was still young, but then I had the opportunity too. And then it has one thing that changed very much from my raising Clarice to raising Gregor is I was at home 24/7 with them, and then I could parent, I could see him walking and doing things, and this is very, very good. But at the same time, something that I'm still struggling is they see me all day long at home. They need and they want to play. I like playing and doing things with them, but it's hard for them to understand sometimes that I'm here, but I can't. Like, please, Daddy, let's play cards. Let's Gregory now has a bike. Let's ride a bike together. Let's play with toys. Let's watch a movie together. And this is how, I mean, it's maybe harder being at home with them. I mean, they're feet apart from me, but I cannot be there with them. You understand what I'm talking about? It's being present and not present at the same time. But it's a big change from when Clarice was born and I was working very much and I was not at home. So I wouldn't. Uh, it's something very important for us here, I mean, especially for me and my wife too, is at least for having breakfast, lunch, and a snack, and in the evening having dinner. We must, like, the world is falling apart, but we're here and we're at the same house, we're together, and this is very good. I mean, having some time. Sometimes we fight during lunchtime, but being there together, it's something very good, and that's I mean, the greatest change from the other time. I mean, the first time being a father, and now the second kid is being together and being present with all this. That's it. Okay, that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, so definitely I cannot again you know, it's difficult to put myself on your all of your shoes, right? Because it's something very unique, and for sure the children do not understand like time as adults do. So like playtime is like always, but then you have a full-time working job, you have your working hours, you have your meetings, right? Sometimes children they don't understand, they simply don't understand, and I bet that can be hurtful a little bit. So we are almost at the end of this roundtable, and before we wrap up, I would like to ask the audience if they have any questions. I see that there are many comments, and it's very nice to see that you guys are getting involved. Or if Rogério, Sandra, Marcelo, do you also have any questions you like to ask each other?
I don't have a question, not a question now, but when Marcelo was talking about, uh, I forgot exactly what you were talking about. I mean, we were thinking about the future and the kid. Ah, yes, I remember now. You were talking about taking your kids to the park and they don't know how to interact, and they're like, and people, we're like, we don't touch, we don't hug anymore. It's weird. And something that happens to me frequently now is whenever I'm watching a movie or these in the during the pandemic. So I mean, I like cooking for a long time, but now I'm the cook, the official cook of the house. And recently we have started, me and my wife, watching this Master Chefs program, etc. And at the end of the program, sometimes when the participants are leaving, like it's recorded, right? So when they're leaving, everybody's hugging and they're touching. Whenever I see a movie or a program that was recorded like pre-pandemic, and I see people hugging and then I see, hey, come on, like you cannot do that. It's for me. I mean, I've changed. Something has changed, and I don't know when I'm going to be able and comfortable. We haven't. I had the first dose of the vaccination, but not the second, and I don't know when or if I'm going to get back to, when we see people, can we hug? I mean,
Yeah.
it's something for me, and I think these kids, like our kids, the younger kids, maybe not your kids, Sandra, because they are older, and I don't know how they're going to react to that, but as a society, we're going to change these habits, and I don't know if I'm ever going to be used to seeing people and like big parties. Oh, that's how it used to be. No, it's something funny for me.
Sandra, do you want to say something? Sorry, Sandra, can you hear us?
Yes.
Do you want to say something? Do you want to say?
No. Just one thing that I would like to say is that it's very important to keep some goals for like teenagers, like I have here, because the sensation, the feeling of accomplishment after 1 year, when you have the feeling, well, I did something. In the beginning, I heard that one of my son's friends was talking about taking a gap year, and I said, no way. To do what? Everything is closed, locked down. So let's at least accomplish something, right? And after 1 year, so they have this feeling, oh, I'm a second year student in university. My daughter is now a senior at high school. So these feelings of accomplishment, at least we can still have, right? So for teenagers, I think it's very important to have this in mind.
And for us too, right? For adults, and like it's very good to establish some goals. Very nice.
And Sandra, I have to say, I don't know how you do it. To be honest with you, because it's not easy to a small kid, but teenagers they go through their own things and go to own change in life normally and naturally, right? And going through all these things as a teenager in a pandemic, I do take my hat for you and the work you're doing as a professional, as a mother, as a wife, and because I assume it might not be it will not be easy. And the thing that I've been seeing through the comments, and I saw one comment I wanted to highlight from my side. It was from Leandro Souza, being being at present one change everything. There you go. If our patients in some case, right? So I think that is a big thing. Doesn't matter if you're a father, if you're a mother, if you don't have kids, or if you're retired or you have grandkids. Everyone globally had to go through what we had to go through, right? In different countries, different ways, different formats. Don't look, I'm not going to go political side of like, yes, but lockdown or not lockdown, vaccination or vaccination. That's not up to us to discuss this here. But every country had to go through in different ways. It wasn't easy for anyone. It wasn't easy for you sitting there watching us. You have to go through your own different things. But being able to find, as we Sandra started saying, planning to prepare, but finding ways to coping with the mechanism of being alone, being by yourself, or being in a very small group, finding ways to connect to people and being able to share the problems you have. You're not by yourself, right? That's the important thing. You have people they need to address, and that's something that I think all of us, I could hear the same things, like it's with a wife, with a parent, or with a neighbor or a friend. I think that being able to share that and not feeling that you're by yourself, I think is quite important. So it's a mechanism to make sure we are okay. And in Australia, they have this campaign. I don't know if it has in Canada. I think it's similar. It's "Are You Okay?" campaign, right? That everyone checks on you, and you should be able to ask, "Are you okay?" and be transparent, responding back, "No, I'm not. I'm not okay." And it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to be internalize that one and think it's only you and no one can help you. And being able to share with another parents or with another friends, it's extremely important to be able to do that. And I think we have a health session later that can discuss that more, but being able to share, it's important. Mateus.
All right, thank you so much, Marcelo, Sandra, Rogério. I think your words are important, so that to remind us of like, okay, we're going through this. It's okay not to be okay. Tough time, challenges. We do have to recognize our privileges, right? We do have to recognize like the governmental decisions that have been taken in different countries and what that has done to prevent saving lives, right? And we have to think about the ones that do not have as many privileges as we do, and they're going through the pandemic as well. But I do feel it's important to have that, note of hope, to keep us moving and keep us going. And we hope that in 5 years, like Rogério said, we can say like, this is finally over. We can, come back and, start living, our lives more fully, I would say. All right. So again, thank you so much, Sandra, Rogério, Marcelo, for your words, your availability. I just want to thank again the audience for being here. The attendance list is down below in the description for this video. We still have a full day ahead of us. We do our next roundtable is going to be at 2, and the title of the roundtable is "In the Eye of the Storm: Voices from Health Professionals." So we're going to have health professionals from Brazil, from the US. We're going to have people that were literally at the ICU when everything was, at its worst point. So I think it's going to be very interesting to hear what those people have to say. And once again, thank you so much, Sandra, Rogério, Marcelo, for being here. And I'll see everyone in the afternoon. Okay? Bye-bye.